Okay, so Katleho Queen Mojakisane. I didn't get your last name right. Say your last name for me.
Mojakisane.
Mojaki-san. Yes, I didn't do very good today. But Queen has joined us today. She is a joy finder. She's a sustainable futures coordinator. She's a clean energy creator. She is an explorer and a traveler who loves to make cultural discoveries and learn more about people. And she really is excited to see what the world has to offer. And fun fact, she loves white cats specifically, even though she is the only one in her family who does. Queen, welcome to Productive Joy.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here and to share my story and a few of my insights.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
too. This is going to be fun. So, people are funny and they only listen for a few minutes before they decide that this is going to be something worth listening to. So, Queen, if you had to convince people that this is an episode worth listening to, what would you tell them?
I would just say that they should prepare to be inspired to do more, step out of their comfort zones, and just to find out more about what young people like me are up to in other parts of the world that perhaps your audience is from a certain part of the world, just to find out what young people like me are up to, what we're passionate about, what gives us, what makes us wake up every morning. So I'll just say, just tune in and prepare to be inspired.
So excited. I'm ready to be inspired. So, Queen, tell us a little bit about you. Where in the world are you right now? And what are you up to?
That's a very interesting question. I am currently in Lesotho. This is where I'm from. This is where my family is from. However, I stay in Cape Town because I'm a student in Cape Town right now. But Lesotho is a small country. Not many people know where Lesotho is from. Not many people know where Lesotho is. So Lesotho is a country that is completely landlocked by South Africa. And so it's like a little province inside South Africa, but it just decided to retain its own, what is this? It's independent,
Hmm.
right? So I'm from Lesotho. I stay in Lesotho and I just go to South Africa when I go to school and hopefully maybe even in the future settle there in Cape Town. But that's where I'm from. And the community that I'm from is a community where, it's a developing country. There's a lot of inadequacy in terms of service provision, in terms of what maybe the services that the government is able to offer. And I'm saying this because this is why we're here today. There's a lot of inadequacies that I saw. I'm not going to focus much on the negative things that happen where I come from, but I'm going to focus on the positive things that I did to address the problems around. Because if we focus on the problems, then we might not find ourselves making any progress. But as a young person myself, I'm just 22 right now. I have realized firsthand the impact of many socioeconomical issues that the African continent currently faces. And I have been, in some cases, a victim of such socioeconomical issues like crime, issues like mental health issues that affect the young people because of the economic issues of where they're from, issues like corruption, issues like unemployment amongst young people. It's really a dire situation that we're in, but I saw that as an avenue to actually create meaningful change in my community, to try to change the little that I can change in however way that I could. And I started at a young age pioneering projects to address the issues that I saw. For instance, I saw that, the government provides a certain level of education that majority of the people in my country can afford, but such education does not comprise of computer literacy. So that is actually very interesting because you get to find out that when people grow up, when the citizens of the country grow up, they're very, they're not tech savvy. They don't have computer literacy, and it holds them back in so many ways. Look at me right now. I am connecting to you via the internet, but not many people have such skills. And I was like, okay, I'll start an initiative where I teach young children who go to these schools basic computer literacy skills. I let them know what it's like, what the world of technology is like, and what opportunities can come when they have such avenues or facilities at their disposal. And that was where my passion for giving back started. I now saw a lot of other needs in my community. I organized mentorship sessions. I organized girl empowerment events, soccer tournaments, to try to deal with a lot of issues, like I've said. And, my passion is to give back meaningfully because I am part of this community and I'm trying to make it better. And that is how I now came to, discover Tangelic. So Tangelic is an organization who at its core is to drive meaningful change in communities by addressing the energy poverty that is evident in many African societies. So as a young person, it's a great opportunity to be part of Tangelic, to be part of a global group of people who want to make a difference in the world. And, I just don't want to speak over you.
No, my gosh, I am so fascinated right now and so excited. And I know every listener is too. Now, let's back up for a second. You're 22 years old. You are our full-time student. You are also building global empires, essentially, that are changing the lives of your community. Most people haven't even figured out like anything by 22. So congratulations, Queen, on just being a brilliant, bright light. I want to know, and we're going to talk about Tangelic and we're going to talk about the great things that you're doing. But I want to know who taught you that you were capable of making change at such a young age. Where did you learn that?
That's such an interesting question because I like the fact that you asked me who taught me that because my mentality really stems from the environment that or the people that I chose to surround myself with. So I am part of a community where we're believers and we believe in the word of God and we believe that we are made to be the best that God wants us to be. We're made to be, representations of His divine excellence. And that is essentially how I'm taught, even at home. My mom always taught me you should strive to be the best. You should strive to be the head and not the tail. You should always do your best. And that kind of mindset growing up, then it made me confident. Even when growing up, I was confident to volunteer for little things in school, like being in a debate team, and my confidence grew little by little. But because I always surrounded myself, I always listened to people who inspired me. I always watched women who inspired me so, so much. And I always watched talk shows of women who did amazing things in their communities. And I always told myself that one day I'll be there one day. And I
Oh,
believe I'm getting there.
yeah, you are. Queen. Wow. Okay. So from childhood, you just knew that you were divinely made and your family taught you that. And then you did something with it. And so this podcast is called Productive Joy, and it's for leaders who want to do it differently. It's for people who are looking at life and saying, you know what? Why can't fun and action go together? Why can't we do things that we enjoy? And you have personified that your whole life. You've said, you know what? I see problems. but I'm not going to see them as problems. I'm going to see them as opportunities. And I am going to solve some of those opportunities through hard work, dedication, grit, all of the above. Wow. I am so impressed and so excited. And I'm even more excited that you recognize the power of your voice, that you can share it in spaces like this so that people will know that they don't have to wait until they arrive at a certain age to be powerful or to make change.
Definitely.
You're doing it already, and I'm so impressed. So wait, okay, I have like 14 questions, but I can only ask one at a time. What are you studying in school? Like what you're in school right now. What is that going to do for you?
Okay. So currently, I'm studying a Bachelor of Administration that will allow me to major in international relations.
Hmm.
So, as you can tell, I am an international relations person. I want to learn more about how organizations work, especially in terms of policy, how policy is made, because I have been, I would say, on the receiving end of policies, but now I want to be on the end that actually makes those policies that affect us as women, as young people, as people from developing countries. And so I want to take part in those conversations, those dialogues, how countries arrive at certain decisions. So that's what I'm studying right now, and that is how it's going to contribute to the larger goal that I have for myself and what I'm passionate about. So I'm very fortunate, really, to be studying something that I'm passionate about at an institution that is, a good institution. Because even for me to be where I'm at, it's not just it's by grace and by obviously the hard work and perseverance. Even where I come from, going to university is not an easy thing.
Mhm.
And for me to have gotten a scholarship to go to university, for me to have gotten a full scholarship, is because of the dedication that I've displayed and the exemplary leadership that I've continued to consistently show, and to show that I'm worth investing in. So a lot of things that I've achieved have really been a journey,
Yeah.
but that is my academic side, right?
Well done.
And
Okay, so you're talking to a bunch of people who are leading others, and that could be in any form, right? Like they might be leading others in their homes, they might be leading others in a business. What advice would you have from your 22-year-old self to these people who are leading others to make sure that they're not overlooking the talents of your generation?
yes, I think it's very important to understand that, even to just be kept up to date with the fact that young people have the ability to shape the societies that we live in if they're empowered. Young people dictate the state of being of so many things around us. And especially when it comes to issues such as mental health, which are, psychosocial issues that are on the rise right now, a lot of innovation, a lot of improvement or advancements happening in many societies right now. They're happening as a result of you know the mindset or the capabilities of the young people who are ambitious to let their imaginations go wild. And when young people are given platforms to show what they can do, when they're given the right resources, the right funding, the right platforms, it actually leads to a better society as a whole, a better, more improved and enhanced society. And this is why I always advocate for, the empowerment of young people and also marginalized people who may be set aside for various reasons, maybe cultural reasons or social reasons. And that is what I'd say to the people listening right now. It's very important that we empower young people. We listen to what they have to say. We don't just listen, but we give them the means to implement those ideas that they have. And that is the only way that things can change, improvements happen. And yeah, so
Oh, I love that answer. That is Perfect, Queen. Absolutely perfect. And so my own children are 23. I have twins, a boy and a girl. And so I'm looking at this both as an employer and as a mother. How proud your mom must be to know that you're making these kinds of changes. And so I know you do that at Tangelic. However, before we talk about Tangelic, I want to ask you my favorite question because I think it's going to be fascinating. So if you had to define productive joy, how would you define it? What does that mean to you?
I think productive joy to me would mean peace, peace in that, there are a lot of things that we try to chase in attempt to satisfy certain needs, goals, or aspirations. But it's not everything that brings a person peace. And it's only until one gets to a certain stage where maybe if they were after certain resources to finance a certain lifestyle, that they understand that there is, I want to term it as a level of saturation, a saturation point where the amount of resources you have do not equal to the amount of happiness or the amount of joy that you get, right? And that is where the saturation point is. But productive joy is, the ability to have peace as you continue chasing, as you continue doing what you're doing, as you continue, setting goals and aspirations, the ability to have inner peace, peace with yourself, peace with where you're at, peace with the fact that you didn't achieve certain things that maybe you wanted to achieve, peace with the fact that you're doing just fine, you're doing okay. And for me, that would be productive joy.
What a great answer. I love it. And what's fun for me is that I don't ever get the same answer twice. And this is the first time that the word peace has been brought into the definition. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. It is feeling content within yourself so that you can do whatever it is you need to do. And that is a beautiful, beautiful description. Well done. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Tangelic because this is kind of a cool concept. And how did you end up there?
Okay. So Tangelic is essentially an award-winning nonprofit organization that is currently registered in the United States, but it is mainly dedicated to address energy poverty and climate change across Africa. So it is committed to doing this through community empowerment, gender equity, and sustainable development. So I know that I've spoken about a lot of terms, but in, English that people who are not in that specific industry would understand. Essentially, what we're saying is that one of the issues facing Africa is the lack of power, electricity. There are power cuts everywhere in most, even if it's not everywhere, but in most African countries. And this causes what we call an energy poverty, right? So you get to find out that people don't have constant electricity supply, and this results in, maybe inadequacies in tasks that rely on electricity. So it's a huge issue because the little thing that might seem inadequate or something such as electricity or something such as Wi-Fi is so important that when you don't have it, so many tasks stop. And we see this in the African society where a lot of communities are held back from development because of these little elements of development that have not taken place yet. So we understand that there's a energy crisis in Africa and it needs to be addressed. And so I came to be part of Tangelic because it's all about empowering communities that otherwise without our help wouldn't be empowered. And this has always been what I'm passionate about, what I like to do. And essentially Tangelic also has, you know, how it plans to bridge this gap that I have identified. And we're going to do this by pioneering in different projects. The first project will be the Sunrise Spectrum, where we'll be aiming to empower communities with clean energy access through solar homes solar home systems, clean cook stoves, and community solar microgrid. And at the core of every implementation of all the projects that we're doing is to ensure that women and the female gender, women and girls, are empowered. So how will they be empowered? When you look at the gender roles or the gender norms in many African societies, such as Ghana, because Ghana is where our pilot project will take place, where we're going to do the project first. You see that the people that, fetch firewood, because that's what they rely on to get energy, to power, or to cook and do other tasks that rely on energy. It's women who do that because women are the ones who cook. Women are the ones who fetch the firewood, burn the fire, and everything. So you get to find out that a lot of respiratory illnesses that result from inhaling that smoke affect the women more. And you get to find out that the time consumed when fetching the firewood, lighting it up, doing all these activities is actually so much time that is consumed. So by giving these communities access to clean energy, we're eradicating that problem of the respiratory illnesses that result from firewood usage. And we're also planning to, start mentorship programs afterwards, where, and in this project will be called the Ghana Clean Energy Entrepreneurship Incubator. So this is where we'll be fostering the next generation of clean energy leaders by providing training, mentorship, and seed fundings to young entrepreneurs. And there'll be a huge representation of women in this initiative as well. So, okay, we've stopped the women from, we're given the women a chance to say, okay, you can save your time from doing these tasks and focus on more productive tasks or tasks that will benefit you economically. And in the mentorship program that we want to start, there'll also be a huge representation of women from these particular communities that we'll be reaching out to. So we'll be reaching out, like I've said already, it will be in Ghana and in the rural villages. One of them is Tamale. And so we're trying to ensure that in as much as we're empowering these communities, we have a huge emphasis on gender equity as we go about all our projects. And next, we'll have the PACE initiative, which is the Pan African Climate Exchange, where we'll be driving continent wide climate action through knowledge sharing, collaboration, and innovative financing mechanisms. So, in a nutshell, this is what Tangelic is about. Tangelic aims to, in the little way that we can, to actually drive economic growth in various ways, to empower women and girls, to improve health and well-being, enhance education, and then obviously the bigger one is to bring light, to bridge that energy gap that we see so eminent in the African society.
Wow. So if I wanted to help and I wanted to do something with Tangelic, how would I find you? How would I find that organization?
Okay, so our website is tangeliclive.org. That is where you can find all the information, the projects that are coming up, how to donate, and which maybe contact details to reach out to in the event that you want to partner with us. And I really want to stress the importance of partnering with organizations like this, being part of such an organization where I see people are actually passionate about making a difference in their community, making a difference in the global south or in the African community. It really makes it worthwhile because I really work with passionate people and I see people that are like-minded like myself. I've told my story, how I came to be in this field of giving back, and so you can quite see how organic our ideas are and how passionate they are. So I would really encourage anyone who really wants to give back to the community or wants to empower women and girls in any way to essentially just partner with Tangelic and find out how they can do so.
And Tangelic is Tangelic, right? Tangelic
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, well, we will
Tangelic
definitely.
Life.org.
Oh, say it again. Tangelic what?
Tangeliclife.org.
Life. Okay, so life after that.
Yes.
Angeliclife.org. Okay, well, definitely hook it up in the show notes and encourage people because the reality is you're changing the world and you're doing
Definitely.
so each and every day. That's
Yeah.
really, really incredible. I'm so, so impressed. All right. Well, I could talk to you all day, but I think it's kind of the middle of the night where you are, and you probably have some other things to do. So I have a couple rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, these will be fun. Speaking of, what is your definition, Queen, of fun?
My definition of fun is no worry. When you're enjoying your time without worrying about what's to come next, when you're just relaxed. So, no worries. Fun equals to no worries.
I love that. I think that's a good lesson for all of us, right? Okay. How do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
Personally, I just try to, ask myself why I'm doing what I'm doing, if what I'm doing is worth it, because a lot of things that I do are really sacrificial. And so when I ask myself, why did I start? When I remember why I started, and if what I'm doing is in line with the reason, why am I doing what I'm doing, then I'm able to assess whether I'm showing up as my authentic self or not. And that is how I just know if something is not who I am, then I know.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
I think humility and obedience plays a huge role because sometimes we may be pushed into situations where maybe we feel like our voices are not being heard at the time, or we want to prove that we're right at the time, or we don't want to do something that someone is telling us at the time. But when you operate from a place of humility, you're able to take a more cool-headed stance and actually operate from a place of being calm, a place of calmness. And when you operate on the principles of obedience, obviously not to be exploited, but there's certain principles that actually hold you back, where upon retrospection you'll see that it was the right decision to not blow off, or so that is how I managed to actually, on my worst days when I don't feel like it, I remember to stay humble, or when I don't feel like speaking to people and I don't feel like doing what someone else says I should do, but I remember the principles that I live by, which is humility and obedience at all times.
Well, it's pretty impressive that you figured that out at 22. Some of us that have spent our entire lives trying to be more obedient, and we are not necessarily doing a great job. So well done. All right. This question is going to be really hard because you have said all kinds of brilliant things, whether it was talking about never underestimate someone by their age, or go ahead and do something now because you can, or literally giving energy to countries who need it. You've said a lot. But people really remember one major thing when they've listened to somebody for about 30 minutes. So if you could pick one thing, what's the one thing you want people to walk away from this podcast knowing?
I want people to walk away from this podcast knowing that everything is possible. A young person like me can achieve the things that she has achieved, the things that I achieved. And essentially, with Tangelic, I really want to bring this Tangelic into this. We are going to light up the rural communities in Ghana, and we're going to do it regardless of the circumstances. We're a relatively new organization, and I just always try to see that the projects that we're trying to implement, they're possible and they will happen. And it will be a joy to witness, how an organization helped people genuinely. When you listen to the individual stories of people who are actually impacted by such initiatives, it would give you the motivation to, even if it's just one person that says, I didn't have electricity before, and now I have electricity, I can study. And because of studying, I was able to pass, I was able to improve my life in one or two aspects. You'd find out that it's worth it and it's possible. And that is one thing that I want the viewers to walk away from this podcast knowing and bearing in mind.
Beautifully said, Queen. And thank you so, so much for giving of your time, for giving of your life to make other people's lives better. There are an awful lot of people on this planet who don't ever think about anybody else. And you've dedicated your entire life to just that. So thank you for sharing your story on Productive Joy. Thank you for choosing excellence every single day. And thank you for changing the lives of people who desperately need your help. Even though you probably won't ever meet them, how great that you are literally changing the trajectory of who they are and what they're doing. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much, Dr. McMullen. And I'm always, happy to talk on these platforms to connect with people who take time out of their busy schedules to inspire or to share joyous, positive things happening or positive things that other people are doing. And I'm always willing to connect more, keep in touch. So I'm always available to whoever might be listening, who would want to engage more. I'm always available to listen to stories, let them know how they can help. How can I help? Maybe initiatives that we have in common. So I'm really excited. And I just want to say to the people once again, visit tangeliclife.org and be part of the change that we're making in different communities. Thank you so, so much for the opportunity to be on this show with you today.
It was perfect, Queen. And all right, y'all heard her. Please reach out. She wants to hear from you, and the world needs you. So we can take action because you guys know every single time we're on this podcast, I always sign off the same way. And today is certainly no exception. I need you to take a nugget of wisdom from Queen and figure out a way to turn fun into action.